So hi and welcome to Alternate Image Gaming. In this video we're going to discuss how not to incentivize players to flag for open world PvP in an MMO. First, what is open world PvP in an MMO? Well, typically there will either be a persistent non-opt-out world PvP system where anyone can attack you at any time. The other option is a flagging-based system where you choose to opt in to a system where those other players can attack you. This is the type we'll be talking about, how not to get people to opt in to this world PvP. For context, the game we're going to be focusing on is Amazon's recent release of New World. While this does apply to other games, such as World of Warcraft, this one's kind of the up-and-coming game that the player base is struggling with their ideologies for how to get other players to participate in this. So far, Amazon has only put in a system that when you flag, you get 10% increased experience gains. However, many are not happy with that, and they feel that there needs to be better incentives for flagging up. While I've seen many comments about this in different Reddit threads and the New World subreddit, one I'd like to highlight is Bajira, who's traditionally a World of Warcraft player but has been playing a lot of New World. He says the following post: "Would love to see more incentive for flagging for PvP in the world. Plus 10% luck ? The premise here is he wants to see a luck bonus which would increase drop rates of rare materials and items just for hitting the flag for PvP button, not counting doing any actual player versus player." My main issue with this is the idea of the passive bonus. Not so much the rewards for player versus player, because I think all types of content should get some sort of rewards. The passive bonus is the biggest issue, along with the place the rewards are coming from, and we'll get into the issue with both of those in a minute. So again, the request is they would love to see more incentive for flagging for player versus player in the world, such as a passive luck bonus or an increase to their current experience bonus system. This request comes with three main premises. The first is that world PvP is unrewarding. The second, given they want an incentive for flagging, is that not enough people flag up for world PvP. And the third premise is that flagging should be encouraged by increasing rewards. I'm going to break these down in reverse order, and we'll see why each of these premises isn't quite the way it seems, and why there shouldn't really be incentive for flagging for world PvP in this context. One of the main issues with this whole thing is that world PvP isn't a place where rewards can be balanced. In dungeons, you can roughly dole out rewards relative to time. In fixed arenas or battlegrounds, even New World's wars, you can have a rough experience loot per time design. World PvP is too random and inconsistent, which is part of the point, to be a primary source of rewards. How could you balance the rate of acquisition of gear, experience, currency, etc. with such a random system? Somebody could flag up and run around the world for an hour and encounter nothing, and the PvP would have been fruitless. Meanwhile, they could run around in a large mob and gank people for hours on end, and if the rewards were good, then perhaps they'd be too good if you could do it consistently. So why shouldn't flagging be encouraged by increasing passive rewards? First, you should opt into world player versus player because you enjoy player versus player. You want those random fights. You want the thrill that comes with the chance that some other player could attack you. The spontaneity is important. If world PvP is fun, then those who enjoy it will do it, regardless of the bonuses. This is the biggest reason the flat bonuses are bad for the system. It's that it doesn't encourage player versus player, it encourages player versus environment while flagged. If I get a 10% bonus chance to rare materials from gathering while flagged, I'm going to want to gather, not fight. I'm not flagging for the fighting, I'm flagging for the perk. If the bonus is strong enough to matter, it will encourage people who do not enjoy player versus player to flag, giving them better bonuses but less fun as they are repeatedly ganked by PvP players. The PvP players, meanwhile, are flooded by PvE players who aren't really trying to fight and are most likely going to run away. So unless you're there just to grief baddies, you're not going to get the challenging PvP experience from these people who are only there for the extra loot. So this brings us directly to the next point, the idea that there's not enough people flagging up for World PvP. So first off, how many people is enough? What percentage of the population should be flagging for PvP before it's sufficient to mount? And that's just going to be the people who want to, right? So who should be flagging? If player versus environment players, people who just want to be doing dungeons and gathering, if they're not flagged up, that's fine, that's good. So if people who otherwise want to do player versus player aren't flagging, is that because it's not fun enough? Remembering back to World of Warcraft, the rewards for doing random battlegrounds have never really been exceptional. A little bit of honor gains, which most of the time doesn't compete in gear that you can buy with that is comparable to the ranked versions of the game, or even half the time player versus environment content. And I would still run those all the time, just because it was fun. The rewards weren't great, but it was fun to do, so I would do it. Now, on the other hand, I rarely flag for World PvP in games anymore. In World of Warcraft, I did it for a while, but mostly just for the bonuses, because it was really uncommon. There's actually just like a 1v1 or small group versus small group fight. Most of the time, it's one group running around ganking the other group in large mass, or somebody who's vastly more qualified, be it gear or skill, just stomping out an undergeared noob. That's not fun. In New World, it seems to be pretty common. Every time I'm out in the world and I see people flagged up, they're flagged up in large groups. And while the idea that a spontaneous war occurs, most people aren't into that, because they just want to go out there and harvest and do their quests. They're not trying to take the time to put a group together just to function in the world. So if they don't want to flag for World PvP, that's fine, and we shouldn't be trying to make them do it, unless it's through solutions that make the game more fun, more balanced, more likely to discourage griefing and large Zerg rushes of players. And I couldn't say how that's going to be. I don't have that particular insight, but it's not by just making the rewards better. So this brings us actually back to the first premise. World PvP is unrewarding. And this is the one I actually disagree with the least, because it kind of seems like in this game the rewards for World PvP are pretty slim, and maybe it's pretty inefficient to flag up while you're doing stuff. And while I really don't want there to be just a ton of rewards that encourage people to flag, I am okay with the idea that people are properly rewarded for their time. Maybe it isn't going to be the most efficient means of doing things, but somebody who actively wants to World PvP but also wants to be relatively efficient with their time, that's fair. But a flat bonus to the PvE content is not the way. Because as mentioned before, it's not supposed to be the best place to gear or grind, because it can't be balanced. But if it is truly that unrewarding and efficient, then something needs to be done. So why are we increasing the rewards for killing PvE mobs and grinding resources when we should be rewarding the PvP content? The player versus player is what's important, that combat, that fight, that action. So more XP or loot for player kills, more PvP crest rewards, better and equivalent gear from capturing PvP objectives. Make it drop more gold if it needs to, make it cost less repairs if you die. Something to make that cost reward a little bit better. But for doing that content, if you just flag because you want to go mine, that's not the way to do it. That's not helpful. But if being out there while you're flagged and mining and somebody jumps you, and it's not a terrible idea to fight them, because if you kill them, you're going to get a bunch of experience and weapon experience and skill points and gold. Again, it can't be too much. It can't be so efficient that it makes sense for a group of player versus players to form a raid and run around farming people, because that is just the de facto best way of getting gear and experiences, because leveling in a large group and murdering random people is just that effective. But if it's just a bit more, and if the rewards come from the PvP, from killing another player, from successfully living through an encounter, perhaps from the objectives they give, well, that means doing the fun stuff you wanted to do is now a little more worthwhile. So again, make it fun. Don't discourage traditional PvE because you make the flagging bonuses so big, and don't discourage flagging either because it's so costly to do. But somewhere in between. And if you can add additional content, particularly doesn't take a crazy amount of development time, that encourages this, but encourages in a way the people who want to be doing it in the first place. For instance, like kill streaks. If you kill more unique players over and over, the rewards get better. Killing the same player resets that kill streak. Alternatively, if somebody is on a large kill streak because they've killed 10 different players over the course of the past half hour, then killing them gives you a bigger bonus. A bounty system. That's the kind of fun interaction that people want to see, I think. At least people who aren't just trying to bait player versus environment players in there to get easy ganks. So that's about it. What do you guys think? Is there a better way to incentivize world PvP? Are the rewards good enough as is? And does this apply to other games? Because my limited experience from World of Warcraft and some of these other games that have world PvP in them, it doesn't seem like very many people want to do them because it's hard to make the engagements fun and not just one-sided. And I'd like to see the engagements fun, less one-sided, and more rewarding for the PvP engagements. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all those fun things, and enjoy your games.